Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you again on behalf of the Other Song Academy. My name is Anna Klikovac, and I'm a teacher and a homeopath from Zagreb, Croatia, broadcasting from Zagreb with Dr. Resie Moonen. Welcome, Dr. Resie. I'm so happy to have you here. Resie is our speaker at the upcoming conference, Little Pills for Little Ones, Part 2. So, and Resie is one of the speakers. So this is what we are doing, presenting our speakers so that we would inform you about the conference and so that the teachers can give you a little bit of insight, what you can expect. So welcome, Resie. I'm so happy to talk to you. And if you can just give a little glimpse of what did you prepare for the conference, and not to spoil the information and for the viewers, but do give us a little bit.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the talk we are doing, and I hope everybody can have some idea about what I'm going to talk about. And I was thinking, when we talk about behavior problems in children, we mostly think of young children, strange enough. So, for example, we think of tantrum attacks, we think of sleeplessness problems, we think of not obeying children, children with difficulties at school. So, and then in one way or another, we always think of young children, children age 4, age 6, maybe age 8. And then I was working in my clinic. I'm working for 38 years now as a homeopathic doctor, and I'm a family practitioner. And I see all ages, from newborns, because I'm also doing deliveries. And so I immediately have the little baby starting with in the beginning of life. And I also do a lot of palliative care. So I also see very old people dying. For some weeks ago, a 95-year-old woman. So, but then I was working in my clinic, and I saw in 1 week, I saw, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 children in their puberty. And I could feel their problems, The puberty is a difficult period in the life of a human being. Because in childhood, everything seems so secure and so, that you go to school and you still obey plus minus your parents. And then the puberty starts, and then it's not so much the importance in a life of a puberty person, how is the relationship with their parents. It's much more of importance, how is the relationship with the peer group. And of course, during the lockdown, it was very, very difficult for the puberty and also for the adolescent young people. So I would say the people between 12 and maybe 22, 23, I think for these young people, the lockdown period was the most severe. And why? Because they need a peer group to have a feeling of who I am, for their identity, for shaping themselves. Should I behave more like this? Should I behave more like this? Well, when do they like me? When they do not like me? Which clothes should I wear? How should I look like?
Yeah, for validation. Yeah.
For validation, exactly. It has to do with validation. And in the beginning of the early years, the validation is totally dependent on the parents and situation. And of course, we also see lots of problems, especially in these modern times, where lots of children are not so stable in their home situation, also because maybe divorce of their parents, and they have to live in another house, and maybe the contact with their mother or their father is not so close anymore. Of that, also the contact with the grandfather or grandmother. So that can be difficult situations. But in the puberty, it is it's a transformation. It's changing, that the stability is not so much found in the father-mother relationship, but much more in the relationship with the peer group. And there you can see also this tantrum, angriness, the disobedience. You can see the do not want to study anymore, do not want to go to school anymore.
Rebellion mode.
Rebellious things. So I thought, okay, so many cases walked into my clinic. I thought this is a sign.
This is a sign, yeah.
And that's what I decided, okay, I'm going to talk about one remedy. If I have time, maybe two, but I prepared now for one remedy. And it's a remedy that is really useful in behavior during puberty.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to your talks. You know, it is always so useful to listen to your examples. And what I love about your teachings is that you somehow find a way to present two cases with one remedy that are similar, but then again unique and different. And then you show us how to apply a certain remedy, and it's usually an unusual remedy, something that we forget about in. Somehow it doesn't appear in our range when we are solving cases. So it is most useful to hear cases like this. So, and I do remember your presentation with tuberculinum aviare for COVID. So this is like, this was like a treasure to have your cases. So this is what I'm looking forward to. If you can give us a little bit about that, how do you get this connection, you know, and find these unusual remedies? And if you can give a little bit about that.
Now, to talk about first about the tuberculinum aviare, just this week, a follow-up of a case, and that's an impressive case because it was an 88-year-old man, and he was suffering for COVID, and he had a severe pneumonia. And actually, he is not in my clinic. His wife is in my clinic, and his wife phoned me that she had COVID herself also, and that she was taking care of her husband, who is 18 years older than she is. She's only into her early 70s, but her husband is 88 already. And she said, I am completely exhausted, and I have no, and I cannot do it anymore. I'm completely weak. I'm worn out. And she had all these after in her mouth. And so I took her case on the phone because she was in COVID, and I gave her muriatic acid because it sounded completely like an acid remedy. She was exhausted. She was exhausted because of taking care of her older husband. And had these typical symptoms for muriatic acid. So I decided to give her muriatic acid. And then in the last minute of her consultation, she asked, but can you please give me something for my husband as well? I said, why? Yeah, she says, he's terribly ill. And the home doctor came to see him, and he found out he had a pneumonia, was out of breath, and he was coughing a lot. But in the Netherlands, there were a lot of people on the IC, and there was a kind of a general idea that people above 85 years, you should really decide to let them go to the hospital, yes or no, because there were too many people in the hospitals, and also because the recovery rate of people above 85 turned out to be very low. So the doctor talked about with the wife in the corridor about what should we do with him, because there is he should go to a hospital, but I know there is a problem in the hospital of taking him. And then the wife answered, you know, if he needs to be on oxygen and he needs to lie down in a bed, and they would really, yeah, how would you say this, bind him, because he'd be restless with this oxygen, then my husband told me yesterday evening already, I never want this. I want to keep my freedom. Then please let me stay home. And even if I'm going to die, that's what it is now. So then I thought, oh, well, this is going to be interesting. So I asked her, okay, can I take the case of your husband? And then she told me, oh, yeah, for sure, I would love to. So, and then she told me he was extremely perspiring. So, especially during the night, she had to change him 2 times a night. So you can imagine how exhausted she was herself, having COVID. And being into her 70s also. And she said what is really special is that he has no appetite at all. He doesn't want to eat anything. And he lost already in these 5-6 days of being sick. He lost maybe, I can see him losing kg every day. So he's losing weight. And then I thought, okay, we have 4 things now. He has COVID, he has a pneumonia, he's extremely perspiring, he is into consumption, you could say. He's losing weight, he has no appetite, he's coughing, he has dyspnea. So
and he wants freedom, and he wants his freedom.
He doesn't want even the oxygen in his nose.
Yeah.
Gives him.
He cannot move. Yeah.
And caged. So I decided to send with her remedy, muriatic acid, his remedy, tuberculinum aviarum. Now, yesterday I saw the woman for her follow-up, and she did well on muriatic acid, but she said, my husband did extremely well. Because the day after, I gave him for 3 days, and the day after the tuberculinum aviarum, he had no fever anymore. And although he had 5-6 days fever, and then 1 day later, he did not cough anymore. And 4 days later, he stood out of his bed and he said, what? I'm cured. And and the woman told me, I have some long effects of the COVID, being fatigued and some other things, but he doesn't have any long effect of the COVID. He's completely in his energy.
Yeah, this remedy is amazing. Yeah, I really love it. It has done miracles for COVID, especially for the was still very serious variant for British and for Delta. It was so useful, and you are now telling us it is still useful even for Omicron.
For sure. And now the Omicron is changing. We had to variant, but what I see now the last week is that the newer patients are still again more severely ill. We'll see what's going to happen.
Yes, we will see. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, your cases are really amazing. And can you share with us any of your cases where you thought, oh, this is going to be difficult. I don't know if we can help this one, and it was like a hopeless case, and then still you saw results. Do you have a case like that?
Yes, I have many, certainly. And what I really remember is a very beautiful, a very beautiful Sabina case, and it's a woman who had a uterus and an ovarian carcinoma even, and they did an operation, and during the operation, the uterus was like ruptured, so all blood came into her abdomen. So her prognosis was really bad. Even the doctors told her when she came out of the narcose, okay, we could remove your uterus, we could remove your ovaria, but because all the blood, the fresh blood of the uterus, and the uterus was full of blood, it came to your abdomen, maybe there are cancer cells into your abdomen as well. So we cannot tell you anything about the prognosis, but we are doubting. And then she came to see me for homeopathic treatment. it was a very special case because the woman was still working as a physiotherapist in the hospital. And she said, when I heard about telling them about cancer, I thought, you know what, I decide not to hear this. So because I want to continue and I want to work and I want to, it's my duty to work and I want to continue with my patients. And she kind of disconnected with her diagnosis. I have her, it's a beautiful video. I have a video of her, many videos, and where she is telling about how she really did the disconnection, that she said, okay, this diagnosis, I hear it, but I decide not to hear it, and I continue with my work. I have a high sense of duty, and now she still was into all the bleeding, and then she had the whole life these periods with a lot of bleeding, and then I decided to give her Sabina Uniparis. And I must say, I just made a follow-up some months ago when she has a 6-year follow-up, and the cancer did never return.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's really, really good.
And she recovered from that rupture.
Totally. And even the gynecologists are surprised about it because she was not on chemotherapy, also because they did not propose her, which I was a little bit surprised about, but I think, okay, then I am free to give her my remedies. And she's still on Sabina. And since then, what is really peculiar is that since then, she gets much more connected with her inner feelings. For example, she never had a relationship in her life. She's into her 60s somewhere. She never had children. And she started to feel what she was missing also with children. So a year after her treatment, she took half-time free in her work, and she decided to take care of the little children of her neighbor. Because she said, I will never be a grandmother, but maybe I will be a grandmother-like person for the little children of my neighbor.
Someone else, yeah.
And she's still doing so. So she really came much more into contact with her own feelings. So also with the disconnection thing that we know of Sabina, that we know of Thuya, that we know of all the Coniferi family, it is really, she's getting much more and more connected with her feelings. So I must say it's a beautiful case. Yes.
Yes, it is. It's a miracle that that you had such beautiful results in such difficult and almost hopeless cases. Yes. Yes. Okay, so now that we talked about, you mentioned a little bit about these teenagers and children having difficulties during COVID and needing to to spend time in lockdown, and the schools were not open for some times depending on the country. So what are your views on the effects of use of laptops, of all these tablets, and children really having this as a source of communication and being on these devices for many hours during the day? So what would be the effect?
No, what is very interesting, I talked in the first meeting of Little Pills for Little Ones.
Mm-hmm.
About lanthanides in children. And of course, we do know that within our mobile phones, within our laptops, it's full of lanthanides. Lanthanides are the minerals, the irons, you could say, that are deep into the earth and that are really needed to build up a phone or an iPad or a computer, because we need the neodymium, we need the praseodymium, we need the gadolinium. It's all into the laptop. So there is something specific going on with children who need a lanthanide remedy, because they have either an attraction to be on these screens all the time, and you could almost say if they are in the neighborhood of the screens, as we know, the lanthanides are very strong magnetic remedies. It's very strong magnetic remedy. It is as if children are on their screens, as if the magnet to do so.
Yes, being attracted to it, to get closer.
So it can be in a positive way, that it helps them to feel them more joyful or to feel them more optimistic, but it also can be in a very negative way, that they get a severe headache, or that they have some. I had a young student who had all the time a kind of a vibration noise into his ears, and he came to know that it was when there is Wi-Fi on somewhere. And you can imagine, there was everywhere Wi-Fi now. He said, when I walk in the woods, or I go and walk on a mountain where there's no Wi-Fi, that's the only place where I lose this vibration kind of sound in my ear. So, and also there are children, or parents would tell me, if my child comes to get my phone, or comes to get my laptop, it's directly disturbed. It seems as if something in the energy of my child is disturbing something in my phone, or something in the laptop. That's possible also. So there is some relationship between children who lead an Lanthanides and being busy with all these iPads, computers, phones the whole day. It's really special.
So would you say that then in this case, children who are really, really like addicted to their phones, is it like the higher possibility that we need to use lanthanides in our practice to help those children?
Always the case, because many children are very much busy with their devices, of course. But if you feel that children almost need it like food, you almost there is a very and that these children want to be autonomous, that is of course very important, then you could really think of a lanthanide. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And also lanthanides are known remedies that can be used for problems with eyesight. So, and because we are all the time looking at the screen or at our laptops, and then eyesight gets a little bit disturbed. So this would also help, right? What are your views on children who get vision problems? Would it also be helpful to use lanthanides?
It can be a symptom of a lanthanide, but of course there are also other
remedies. Yeah.
Of course. With lanthanide children, you often see something very special on the child, that he has dyslexia or dyspraxia, or highly gifted intellectual, sometimes, or there is something in the autism spectrum, that kind of thing. Mostly there is something like almost the diagnosis, that all the teachers feel, all the parents feel, there's something special with this child, and we have to see what is the diagnosis. So, and for me, the diagnosis is not so important. For me, it's much more important, how special is this child? What is so special in this child? And for example, I was talking about the tantrums in puberty, and I also have lanthanide cases of children who have severe anger outbursts. But if you start talking with them, and that's of course the most important thing, the anamnesis, then they will tell you, if they trust you, that they are so angry because nobody understands them. They have a very deep inner feeling of, nobody understands me. I am different than other people. And then if they want, sometimes they are doing even something that seems okay for them, and other people are completely disturbed because of it, and then it gives them a terrible anger, because they do not seem to understand me, which purpose I had, which what I did. you know. So they also have the feeling, I am always the one who gets accused of something, although I did not have bad intention, you know. But there is something going on a different level. And because of this, it often doesn't match with other children, with the teachers. And then they feel so lonely and so misunderstood that it gives them an anger outburst. I also have case children in their puberty with anger outbursts, which I will not present because it would be too much, with Lanthanide remedies, for sure.
Great. Yes, yes, thank you. This is also great information. And as you mentioned that you also see babies, you know, right after delivery. So
Yes.
I was curious to know whether you would see any pattern or any remedy that is emerging that like is frequently there in newborns that are born in this pandemic time. So would you see any specific remedy that is constantly coming up in the newborns, in children?
Yeah, I cannot say it's one remedy, but I can say that I've seen the last years many babies who needed early after birth a cuprum remedy.
Oh,
And
okay.
as we know, cuprum is in stage 11 of the periodic table, and it is the stage where you want to be in control. So also the women who had their deliveries in COVID times, it was very controlled, you know. They may only take their husband with to the hospital. You can also take your mother with you, or a sister, or a friend. It was not allowed. It was very controlled. Only one husband could go with them. They could stay only one night in the hospital, going to the house as quick as possible so that the mother and the baby would not get COVID in the hospital. Then the mothers came home. Now, usually you have a whole group of people helping them. Now, because of the COVID, it was only allowed for one person to come and help them. There was not allowed any visitors. Also to take care that the child, the baby, the mother will not attract COVID. So it was very kind of rigid thing, you know, rigid and controls. You see the babies having these cramps, you know, these cramping pains, or the babies having this. I had one baby, I have the baby on video, who had all the time so little jerking and I took the baby in my arms. That's what I always do. I take the baby to feel the flexibility of the baby, and I could feel there was so much tension in the baby. So the
Rigidity again.
baby was like, the whole baby was like rigidity, and so the whole baby was like in a cramp situation, because she was taking care of that no come in, and that everything was hygienic, and that she was breastfeeding only one times in 3 hours. And usually people walk in, a friend, a sister, a mother, and they will tell you, oh, you know what, if the child is hungry, give it after 2 hours, you know, who cares? But now she had this instruction, she had to do it alone, and she was doing it in a rigid kind of way. So I gave several mothers and children cuprum with really nice results, because the cuprum is relaxing the intestines of the baby, relaxing the shoulders. The mother is getting more relaxed, can give a child much more freely the breast. So the child is also feeling the rigidity and the control, which is all around this COVID thing.
And it would, yes, this is like a great insight, because it would make sense, because now when you're talking about it, I'm trying to visualize what these mothers go through. And actually, if you see the pregnancy as something the most beautiful that a woman can experience, and it would be like column 10, you know, you feel you're on top of the world, you know, wow. And then you feel that way during the pregnancy, and here comes the labor, and then they start to take away your freedom and take away that feeling from you. And in column 11, it's like the first time you're experiencing that somebody tries to limit this sense of freedom and you being like on top of the world. So it's great insight to help us, to recognize cuprum possibly in this newborns and new generation. And also I read somewhere, it was somewhere on social networks, that in the US they were actually changing the standards and extending this period where it would be like normal for children to even delay walking and talking and sitting. So this time is a little bit delayed, extended. So did you see that in practice?
I've seen it as well. I've seen it as well, because there was also a lockdown of kindergarten and crashes for children. So the children were much more only with in the house without being in another situation. So it is a very strange situation, and little people coming into the house. So it was all very limited. So, and of course, if you have a more limited situation, you have less to develop.
Yes.
Yes, it's certainly really interesting. But what's also interesting, I've met many children in my clinic, for example, and they only remember the period with COVID in their lives, because they, of course, have no remembrance 2, 3, 4, and these years were with all the lockdowns. So for them, life is that's changed. So, for example, they're hesitating to see a grandma and to kiss or to embrace. They did 2 years. So it can have a change. We don't know yet. What will this be for children after some years? But it's very special that these children had 2 years without kissing and hugging, only with their parents, but not the people. Strange, huh?
Yeah, it is going to be strange for us to observe what is the effect on all of us, on all, even the adults. We somehow we got used to that, like not getting close to anyone and stepping out. If somebody tries to approach you, you step back. Yeah, so okay, so it was so lovely to have all these examples. So if you want to say something to our audience, something to conclude this talk, I'm sure that you still have time to register. So for all you viewers, you still have time to register for the conference. So just click on the conference, Little Pills for Little Ones, Part 2. Even if you did not participate in Part 1, it is not a prerequisite. You can still attend this conference because it is a different topic. And yes, so still do register, do join the conference. You will have the opportunity to listen to the Dr. Resie Moonen, and then we have other speakers as well. We will be doing this Insta Live on Tuesdays and Fridays. We will continue that until the conference, introduce you to other speakers. And so, Dr. Resie, if you have any message for our viewers, anything you want to say?
Yeah, what I maybe want to say is still about the anamnesis, especially also in puberty children, that it's very interesting to talk with the parents also. And maybe not together, if you are talking with a puber person, you should talk alone. But there is also lots of information that you can get from parents also, and it can be helpful. So you will see in the 2 cases I present that both the cases were referred to me by their mothers. So the mothers who were in my clinic for treatment told me that they have big, severe problems with their puberty daughters. And they were talking about what were these problems with them. and how did they see their child before these problems started. And that is really interesting, and you can take it into account as well. So it all the other things give, and the people around give information also, and it's helpful. It's helpful.
Actually, going back to the basics of organon,
Yes.
where Dr. Hahnemann told us, always, it is what the patient says, it is what you observe, and then what other people, family members or parents, what they say about the patient. And even though you need to talk to teenagers on their own, they're not going to share anything in front of the parents. But yes, I agree with you. It is very important to talk to parents.
Great. So
good. Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being with us. And now you know about how to connect to InstaLive. We can do it some other time as well. Okay. So have a great day and see you soon at the conference.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.